Hi guys. So after you take notes on ethos, pathos, and logos, then I want you to complete this practice to make sure you got this stuff down before you create your own advertisement next week. Okay, so this is what the packet looks like, and I want to go over the first page because this one has a lot of notes, and then I'm going to go over the instructions for how to complete this packet. Okay, so here we have the beginning. We have Aristotle. He was a Greek philosopher who lived in the 4th century BCE. He was an influential thinker and wrote on many subjects, from logic and ethics to biology and metaphysics. One area in which Aristotle was particularly interested was rhetoric. That's the art of persuasive speaking or writing. You guys do this all the time without even realizing what it was called. He even wrote a book entitled On Rhetoric, in which he explains his theories of persuasive language and speech. Most significantly, in his work, he expounds on the concepts of ethos, logos, and pathos. So he expands on those concepts, and you should have already taken notes on those, but here's a little more insight. As tools for persuasive language, a lot can be learned about the art of persuasion from these 3 concepts, and once understood, they can be easily applied to our own persuasive speaking and writing. So this is very important because for English 1, we give you ethos, pathos, and logos. But when you get to English 2, there are subcategories under ethos, pathos, and logos that you'll be studying. So you need to know the basics in order to get the subcategories later on next year. So let's look at ethos first. So we already talked about ethos in your PowerPoint, but now we're going to go into it a little more. So this is a Greek word meaning character. In terms of persuasive language, it is an appeal to authority and credibility. Remember, this is about who is giving you the information. Are they a credible source? Are they someone that you should be able to believe? It is an important tool of persuasion because if you get your audience to see you or your argument as credible and trustworthy, it can be much easier to persuade them. So here's our little guy over here. He says, as a doctor, I can say that this product will certainly improve your health. Well, doctors should be credible. They should know if this product is going to work or not. Now, I say should because we don't always know, but we hope that they're going to help us. Then let's go down here to pathos. Pathos is a Greek word meaning suffering or experience, and it is used in persuasive speech as an appeal to your emotions. A lot of people get ethos and pathos mixed up because they think ethos, emotion, but it's not. So please take note of this. Ethos is credibility. Pathos is your emotions. So pathos is a way of creating persuasive argument by evoking an emotional response in the audience or reader. So this is where they try to make you feel a certain way or question yourself and think, maybe I need this product or maybe I need to help with this. You can use pathos when trying to persuade by appealing to an audience's hopes and dreams, playing on their fears or worries, or appealing to their particular beliefs or ideas. So here's our little guy over here. If you don't buy this life insurance, you're letting your family down. Well, you're right, little guy. I don't want to let my family down, so I need that life insurance. Appealing to your emotions is pathos. Logos is logic. That one we can remember through alliteration. So logos is a Greek word meaning a word or reason. In rhetoric, it is an appeal to logic and reason. It is used to persuade an audience by logical thought, fact, and rationality. Logos can be a useful tool of persuasion because if you can prove an argument through logic and sound reasoning, your audience is more likely to be persuaded. So here's our little guy. He says, it's a fact that smoking causes cancer. Therefore, if you don't want cancer, you shouldn't smoke. Now, the facts have to go together. It talks about smoking, cancer, you shouldn't smoke. Now, if he said smoking causes you to run fast, therefore you shouldn't smoke, that wouldn't make sense. Or if he says eating bad foods can lead to obesity, therefore you shouldn't smoke, that wouldn't make sense. So the 2 things have to go together. Your fact has to go with your reason. If you can include a combination of these 3 elements in your persuasive speaking and writing, you will appeal to your audience's emotion, sense of reasoning, and belief in you, and therefore your writing will be more convincing. Try to subtly weave ethos, pathos, logos into your persuasive writing and speaking. You don't want to just come out and say, I'm going to use ethos on you. I'm going to use pathos. I'm going to use logos. You want to do it in a way, hang on. You want to do this in a way where that people don't even realize what you're doing. And this happens to us all the time. So here's some extra notes on this first page. Now, when you go to the second page, here we are going to practice ethos. And there's even more important information up here. So highlighting and annotating up here could be very helpful to you. So let's look at ethos. It says over here, ethos is an appeal to ethics. It's a means of convincing an audience of the character or credibility of the persuader. So remember, ethos is all about credibility. So look in the middle here. How can you incorporate ethos? You can openly remind your audience who you are and why you are the authority on the subject. As the leading researcher, I agree, ... You want people to know that you know what you're talking about. You can establish authority more subtly through the use of jargon or specialized terms. So it's the way you talk and the terms you use. My quantitative research in linguistic anthropology has shown that sounds authoritative to me. So that's a good example. You can establish credibility by just using correct grammar and language, using solid reasoning and good arguments, and therefore sounding credible and trustworthy. Maybe you're not, but if you sound like you are, people are more likely to do what you say. I like these examples over here. I've been married for 58 years, and I can tell you that he will not be a good husband to you. This woman's been married for 58 years, so she's pretty convinced she'll be credible. But her husband is probably different than this other person's. So maybe she doesn't know, but she sure sounds credible. Having written 10 successful novels myself, I can tell you that this book is worth buying. Just because you've written 10 novels doesn't mean that that book is good, but it sure sounds good. My friend who has a PhD in nutritional science says that we should eat fewer carbohydrates. Okay, he has a PhD, so maybe that person knows what they're talking about, and maybe we should eat less carbs. Why use ethos? If your audience believes you to be qualified, an authoritative figure, or an expert on a subject, they're more likely to be persuaded by your argument. That's why we use it. So your job on this page is going to be to go down and read these examples and decide if it's ethos. Is this person credible? Now, if this person is not credible, you're going to put no. If they are credible, put yes. You must explain. You will not get the points if you don't explain. So make sure you explain how that is ethos. Then you're going to go down the bottom, and for each of these, you're going to write a persuasive sentence using ethos, giving credibility. So you need to put somebody in these examples that is credible. Then you're going to move on to pathos. Remember, pathos is emotion. So we got some more good notes here. I'm going to start over here. Pathos is an appeal to emotion. It is a means of convincing the audience by creating an emotional response. Now I'm going to go over here. How can you incorporate pathos? You can use descriptive language and imagery, which evokes emotions. This life-saving dishwasher will enhance your life and lighten your load. That sounds great. I need help in my life. You can identify values, emotions, which relate particularly to your audience and play on them. I know you care for your family, so I do care for my family, so I must do what you say in order to take care of them. You can use personal stories to appeal to the sympathies and emotions of your audience. When I lost my job, I knew how important it was to, if I lose my job, I need this too. Here's some examples. If you don't go on this holiday, you'll regret it. You don't want to live with regrets, do you? You're right, I don't. So that's appealing to my emotion. You love your dog, so buy this dog food as it will help him get all his nutritions. Oh yes, I don't want my dog to die. Let me get them this expensive food. You have been poorly treated. You have been taken advantage of. Now is time to take action. Yes, you're right. I need to do something about this. So this is all about emotion. Notice how nobody has to be credible, and there's not necessarily facts in here. So pathos is all about emotion. So what you'll do with pathos is you have some sentences and you are going to explain how pathos is being used. So this page doesn't have a yes or no. All of these have some form of pathos. You just have to explain what the pathos is. I would highlight it over here and then write down your explanation over here. Then at the bottom, yes, you're going to write these sentences. You're going to use pathos, emotion, to write these sentences to try to persuade somebody to do something. Then your next page here is going to be logos. That's facts. So over here, logos is an appeal to logic. It is a means of convincing your audience through rational thought and reason. We like facts. So how can you incorporate logos? You can use research and statistics to back your argument. 87% of students benefit from textbooks. So this is something that I told you guys you could use in your essays. Remember, we can make up some facts to sound good, even if people don't know if we're right or not. Most people aren't going to check. They just believe it. So this is always a good way to convince people. You can use logical processes to explain your point. If this happens, then that happens. If you don't want gum disease, then you should brush your teeth regularly. Yeah, I don't, so you're right. Let me do that. You must give convincing, solid evidence and reason to support your claims. I need a car. It would make me more independent, save me money, and improve my life. Yes. Examples. I've not eaten meat for 8 years and I'm fit and healthy. You can't argue that vegetarianism is always unhealthy. Okay, there's some facts. We have conducted the experiment 57 times and we get the same results every single time. So it must work every time. This is not my wallet. My wallet has a tear in it. This wallet has no tear in it. Therefore, it cannot be mine. Facts. Okay. Then down here, what you're going to do, you have a yes or no box. You're going to decide if this is logos or not, logic or not, and then you explain why it is or why it isn't. So these boxes should not be blank. Then you're going to go down here and write persuasive sentences using facts. So you're going to make up facts for these three. This page here, you're going to pick what you want to use and write a sentence. So you're going to get a prompt like you are trying to sell a particular brand of toothpaste called Shiny White. So then you're going to decide, see where it says technique used, what you're going to use. Now on these, you can use a combination. A lot of these go together, and sometimes it's hard to write a sentence just using one of them when you're being super persuasive. So if you use a combo, that's fine. Write the ones you're using. This person said, the example says, 3 out of 4 people surveyed said that they prefer our brand to any other. If you care about your teeth, make the wise choice and buy Shiny White before it's too late. The second sentence is using emotions, pathos. First sentence, using logic. So that's what you're going to do with all of these. You have to identify which ones you're using to get the points, and you have to write a sentence on this page. Last page, we have some advertisements here. So for each of these following extracts from advertisements, identify how ethos and pathos and logos is being used. So here, you're going to write down which ones are being used and how. Just like this last page, it can be more than one, but you're just saying how it's being used for all of these to get the points. So you have to say what technique or techniques are being used and how. Okay? You have to do all of that in order to receive the credit for this packet. You're getting a few days to work on this because I understand that this is a big packet, and I hope this explanation helped you.